unrelated to what we're doing, but I also love that the dog has settled into her spot and she's content and not playing, not playing anymore.
She's feeling the energy.
She's in the energy.
Yeah.
She's actually been a joy to teach with, because if it's a meditation class, you'll never hear a peep out of her. It's perfect. Unlike our meditation class where a very loud freight train passed in the background.
But what a powerful energy that was.
It was a cool experience. It was a cool visceral experience to be able to feel in the body.
One of my favorite words.
Yeah.
I love that word.
Feeling it in the body as we're being cued to experience our bodies.
Yes.
Often with trauma, we are, and when I say trauma, I mean commonplace things that are traumatic, like being isolated from your friends and family for many, many months at a time, or losing a job, or
Hurricanes.
Just not knowing what's going to happen.
Yes.
Uncertainty without the right foundation, very, very jarring. I pulled a question. All right, Loni. So Loni and I are both transplants to our state of Louisiana. How has art influenced your life and or eased your move to Louisiana?
So this begs the question of how do we define art? What is the expression or medium in the art world? So my expression with art is dance. It is a physical manifestation, a physical expression of creativity. So dance has been a way for me to unpack emotions and move the emotions, which there's a woman that I follow on Facebook and Instagram, and we have worked together in a professional sense. She has been a professional mentor for me. Her name is Natalie Bright. She's amazing. I love her work. She's very conscientious, and just open-minded, and I love what she says, that emotions are energy in motion. And that resonates so deeply. Like when we feel emotions, it's energy that becomes stuck. When we have that visceral reaction, there's that word bringing it again. When we have that visceral reaction, it's because the energy is stuck. When we experience anxiety or depression or any kind of discomfort, it's an energy that becomes lodged in and it becomes stuck. Depression is a repression of emotions. I also learned that from Marissa Peer. She is a psychologist out of Great Britain. Also love her work. And so we need to find ways to move that energy. That's all it is. Again, we're energetic beings. So we just need to move that energy. For me, my expression is dance. And so being able to drop into dance, and I mix it with yoga. So I do kind of a combination. It's not like booty yoga. It's not that. It's more of I draw from my Caribbean roots, and I drop that into the yoga poses, and I combine the two, and I just move my body in ways that feels connected and right for me. And lately I've been finding with this movement, it actually brings me to tears, like on my knees, like full on ugly cry.
The best kind.
Full on ugly cry. You do not want to see that. But I feel so much lighter afterwards. It is a release, and it brings me back to my center and connects me into that space of that no matter where I'm at, no matter what the backdrop is, new place, new environment, home is actually here. So
I love that. I also love, so in my yoga therapy training, my brilliant teacher, Dana Slamp, talks about the diaphragmatic, so the diaphragm in just below the lungs, the diaphragmatic bounce, and why that is a therapeutic tool for us. So a lot of people will think that crying isn't a good thing, but a lot of that is conditioning around, like, for our parents or for our teachers, if we were upset, that was a workload that they weren't prepared to deal with. Um, Status quo isn't, it's not set up for like the present level of health that we have right now, because we didn't make the flexibility for the vast array of human motions earlier in life. So a lot of what we look at as being like baseline health is not correct for most people. A lot of us are broader, but specifically broader in the lower level, the more dense emotions, the more difficult emotions. And so when we think about something like crying, a lot of people will shy away from it. They don't think that it's a good thing to feel negative emotions, and it actually is, because that is a catharsis for us. It's a release of that energy, that it's now an energy that's in motion, moving out to where it's no longer stagnated within our energy field. And so that diaphragmatic bounce is kind of like when you shut your phone off and you turn it back on. It's like shake it around. Like if you, I always use a notes app on my phone. If you shake it around, it'll give you the option to delete like all of the mumble jumble that you just wrote. So that's where my mind goes with that. Lonnie, what is your favorite style of dance, or which ones have you been involved with?
Oh goodness. So I'm a fire dancer. So yes, for those of you who are unfamiliar with fire dance, that actually means using props that are lit on fire and using those props as an extension of the body. And fire dance comes in all shapes, forms, sizes. I mean, there are people that are way more technical than I am, that I have seen do things that my mind is just like, what, you know? For me, because dance comes first, the prop becomes an extension of my body. The fire is an extension of the elements that already exist within. So, that is my number one expression, but I've also done belly dance. Actually, I turned on some belly dance music the other day and I just went to town, and I felt so good because I hadn't done belly dance in a long time. And I have to say, one of my favorites is when I combine fire with belly dance, because it's just this explosive, vibrant, ethereal experience that, it comes alive, and it's like belly dance and fire were meant to be together. They were so meant to be together. And then of course I throw in my Latin dancing, my Caribbean dancing, and so those are the expressions that growing up in the Caribbean, I've learned to be most comfortable with.
I really resonated what you said about your prop being an extension of you. And it makes me think about Teal Swan, who's a wonderful educator in the field of psychology. She's not a psychologist, but she's a spiritual psychologist. Now that we're all professionals, we need to be careful about like our verbiage with like labeling people correctly.
Yes.
But she says, to love something is to take it as your own, to take it as an extension of you. So if I love you, I take you as an extension of me, and I treat you the way that I would treat me. I would consider you the way that I would consider me. I capitalize on your best interest. So for you to take this prop and take this element and make it an extension of you in this art form is really beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah, I was very blessed too. I didn't know Lonnie was a fire dancer until a few weeks ago, and she goes, "Come meet me at the park." And she pulls out all of her fire stuff. I'm like, what are we doing here? I'm like, I thought we were having a picnic.
Yes, Jillian got the induction into the art of fire.
It was such a blast. I'm hooked now. The fire fans are where it's at.
Yes. Oh, fire fans. It's one of my favorite props to use.
And this girl does amazing things with a hoop.
Oh,
things that I didn't know were possible.
And that's
Amazing.
Nothing. That's nothing. Like I said, I have seen people that my jaw just drops and I'm like, how is that? But I've had to, so coming into that vulnerable space, I've had to learn how to stop comparing myself to other people. We all have the expressions of who we are, and my expression, it's never been technical, and I have to, and I still practice learning to be okay with that,
Mm.
learning not to be the best technical hooper in the world, learning how to be not the best technical, poi dancer in the world, because it's, for me, it's not about that. It's about how do I move within,
Mm.
and with this incredible element of fire.
I like that. I think that when you're focused too much on being a purist, you
Yes.
lose a lot. Um, and so that translates for me. I also have an extensive dance background.
Mm.
Um, and so I grew up with a suburban trio of ballet, tap, jazz, majored in dance in college. So that was primarily modern. And then I left that world. And, even modern has technique.
Mm-hmm.
But when I joined, I was typecast for a Southern Italian folk company. And when I joined that company, the primary teaching was forget all of what you know. These were folk people, these were
Mm-hmm.
farmers and peasants working the fields that were dancing. They weren't trained dancers. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to dance like them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to leave behind, like, I'd point my toes, but like,
Yeah. Gotta point the
yeah, but it
toes.
wasn't like the full rond de jambes and like
Yeah.
attitudes that you do in ballet. And I think when you're able to go away from technique a little bit, you
Mm-hmm.
get to a more genuine expression. So even in yoga therapy, um, we'll put people into pigeon pose, and where the primary cueing would have you put your knee at a 90-degree
Mm.
angle.
Yep.
It's not therapeutic for people unless you have the splits of a Russian ballerina.
Yep.
You need to accommodate your meniscus by deeply folding your knee. We also haven't accounted for women's hips in
Yes.
yoga.
Yes.
So you might need to move your knee so that it's more centered with your chest rather than centered with your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
That's an accommodation that's just functional on the
Mm-hmm.
level of the body because women's bodies are built differently. So
And men are generally not more flexible or as flexible as women, so they may need to have their leg more tucked in
mm-hmm.
underneath, where their heel is actually under their
Right.
their sit bones, so, and it's interesting because we did pigeon today in my yoga class, and I saw all kinds of expressions of pigeon, and I didn't correct one single person,
Mm-hmm.
because in certain movements, poses, we have to go with what the body feels versus trying to fold and manipulate ourselves into some expression of perfection, whatever that is, because that may be anatomically incorrect
Right.
for somebody.
Right. It's so fluid.
It really is. It really is. And that's kind of where, I've started to come into more of that dance expression. Is it's not about technique. And actually, so because I love dance so much, one of my guilty pleasures is I love
Hmm.
watching cheesy dance movies, like the Step Up movies. Oh my God, I
They're the best.
love the Step Up
Oh.
movies. So I just watched Step Up 4 yesterday. I was enraptured. Listen, y'all, I was enraptured. Okay. The dance moves. There was this one scene. Oh my gosh, they were in this art gallery and they blended into the art and they made the art come alive. And I was like, yo, that is sick. Okay. And the one character, the main character, the girl, well, there's a girl and a guy. There's always a girl and a guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was going out for this prestigious dance academy, whatever. And they were like, where have you studied? Blah, blah, blah. And they were like, so obviously your technique is on point. Your technique is actually perfect, but throw it out the window. And that's actually a very common thread that I've seen in dance movies that I have watched throughout my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Throw the technique out the
Yeah.
window and feel.
Yeah.
feel
think
it.
that was even a topic in Flash Dance.
Probably.
Yeah, she
Yes.
wanted to go to that dance academy.
Yes. And they don't ever accept on technique. They accept on uniqueness, expression, feeling. What do you express through your movement? You know, so it's rarely ever about technique.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so refreshing to talk to you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Also, mark my words, I have always wanted to model for Craig Tracy. He's down in New Orleans. He paints people's bodies into his own artistic works. I'm manifesting that. There's a new moon. I'm manifesting that.
Yeah. 40th birthday weekend.
40th birthday
Yes.
weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. All right, honey. Choose another card.